Who's going for coffee? You going for coffee? So no one's going for coffee. Who's going for coffee?
Here we go. Welcome back to Who's Going for Coffee. Here we are in the back room at the Local 1 Elevator Constructors Union Hall in Long Island City. We had our intro episode last week, and episode number 1, I'll call it 1A. I can't think of a better topic to talk about, is safety with the building trades. You know, that is the most important thing, is safety. You know, we all come to work. We want to go home with all our fingers and toes. We preach it. We talk about it all the time. So I can't think of anybody else to have on than our safety director, John Hook. How are we doing, John?
Good morning, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing well, John. So, John, give us a little history lesson on John Hook's journey through Local 1. How'd you get into this business?
I got it from my dad. My dad retired in 1996, spent 30 years with Otis. I'm second generation. My brother got in about 1986, 87. He's currently down in South Carolina working. He's got almost 36 years.
Nice.
My uncle was in the business. He retired in the early 80s. I have a cousin currently works for Otis. And here I am, 30 years. Started back in 1994. Walked through the doors of the World Trade Center as a little young apprentice, and I just continued there. I was there for a couple of years and moved on.
So Trade Center was your first job?
First job.
So what was it like the first day walking into the Trade Center? So here we are. What was John Hook doing before?
Pumping gas.
Pumping gas. So now you go from pumping gas, right? You get a cute girl every once in a while coming in, and now you're in the iconic World Trade Center in this magnificent trade. Like, what was that first day like?
It was crazy. I was pumping gas the night shift on Staten Island, Amboy and Annandale, the mobile. And I remember getting home like 7 in the morning, my mom saying, all right, your dad called. Go down to the Trade Center. You start. And I walked down there, and it was unbelievable. It really was.
How long was he trying to get you into the business?
Not that long. I graduated New Hope High School in 1993. I was going to the CSI communities, Staten Island Community College for a year, taking some engineering, and that summer is when I started.
All right, so you started not too long after coming out of high school.
Yeah, I was a little young punk.
You're a young punk, but I'll tell you what, a young punk, you know, we talk about it all the time. We go on these outreach events. The young punk coming out of high school that gets into a trade like this has really got it licked as far as their retirement, right? The amount of money that they're going to make.
My dad preached union his whole life growing up with him. All I heard was Local 1 and Otis my whole life. That's all I knew. Going to work with my dad, last 13 years of maintenance man at 120 Broadway, and that's where I grew up. Days I had off, I go to work with him, throw on the little Otis shirt as a kid and walked around with him, cleaning pits, stuff like that.
Yeah. So now we come in, we're an apprentice at the Trade Center, we become a mechanic. And I know you spent a good chunk of time on the executive board. So what was your first position on board?
My first position was 2010 as the warden. I was elected warden. Spent 3 years as the warden. Then 2013 I was elected to Board of Trustees, and that's where I spent 13 years. I just finished up my 15th year on the board, where I took a step back. Now I'm a full-time safety director here at Local 1.
Right. Warden's an interesting job, right? You're the guy in the back that's telling everybody to quiet down.
It's interesting at our union meetings to tell people to be quiet, especially when they're your good friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're your good friends. They're elevator guys. A lot of these guys don't know how to be quiet.
We have some interesting meetings here.
We do.
Very interesting.
We wouldn't want it any other way, though.
No,
would we?
No, absolutely not.
All right. So you spent a good chunk of time on the Board of Trustees, but now, you know, a few years ago, you became Local 1's first safety director. And man, I can't think of a more important job, especially in this industry, you know, than safety. So, you know, walk us through, you know, what you wake up in the morning and, you know, what's John Hook's day look like?
Well, my safety started probably about 2015. I started teaching for NEEP, teaching year 1, year 2, started getting into the scaffolding, became an OSHA outreach trainer, started doing a lot of extra classes here, always involved with the safeties. Year 1, pretty much your knee program was all safety, CPR, scaffolding, OSHA 10, now OSHA 30. So that's pretty much was doing for a couple of years, 200, rotated. Then about 2 years ago, the way safety is going in the city, everything's about certs. SST cards came out 2020. We were pumping them out, and we knew 5 years was going to be the renewal process. So the executive board felt we needed a full-time safety director just to teach, renew SST cards, teach also the rigging here, scaffolding ongoing, CPR ongoing, flagger class is a big one now we're doing, scissor lift, constantly training here at night, teaching classes. And if I'm not here, I'm out visiting guys on job sites. They'll call me up. Hey, John, you want to stop by? Quarterly safety meetings. I'll go visit the companies when they're having their meetings. Keep it active.
Yeah, it's important. But prior to becoming the safety director, where that's now your job, you were involved, very involved in safety prior to becoming the safety director. So now you're working there out in the field, right? And you took on a large role with the local as far as safety goes.
Yeah. Back at the Freedom Tower, 2010, I got to the Freedom Tower with ThyssenKrupp, was working. There was 1 or 2 accidents, and they felt they needed a full-time person dedicated to safety. So that was really the first job where they took a local one guy and said, hey, you're dedicated to safety. You're going to help the guys with the JHAs. You're going to walk the job with Tishman, the insurance companies. Just walking the job, checking the guys, make sure the JHAs were done, helping out when I could. And did that for 2 years. And that kind of evolved into, me getting more involved with safety. There was
so you must have, for this to become a full-time job here, during those 2 years, you had to have seen things and heard things and seen guys doing things or seen, unsafe things that really, created this need for this position.
Yeah, you hear a lot throughout the city. When you hear about construction accidents, the guys on the scissor lift, not really with local one guys, but we hear everything in the construction world. Whether guy fell down his steps, guy had a heart attack, cut his finger off. There's always something. So that's what I'm trying to just preach is safety. Big thing now is gloves, hand safety.
Yeah.
Guys are throughout the international, our guys are cutting their hands pretty bad.
Yeah, you talk about gloves. You and I were just successful in getting
our first grant for gloves.
A safety grant through New York State Hazard Abatement Board for a class that we're going to develop and to promote hand safety.
I'm looking forward to making that PowerPoint and going out with the guys and just preaching glove safety. Yeah. Guys that put on their gloves put their hands in some bad spots.
They do. Listen, the employers have their safety meetings and there's talks all the time, but to have this structured class, right, that I hope is started here and it just makes its way around the country, right? As far as an out trade, listen, all trades too,
all trades
throughout throughout the country as far as hand safety goes. And I think, it's the beginning. We're going to roll out this class. I know we're going to be successful doing it. And I could see this thing taking off around the country. And, listen, it might have been a small amount of money that we got. That's only going to grow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll keep working on it. And the way safety is going in the city and throughout the country, it's all about safety. Documentations, your certs. You have a flagger cert, right? In New York City, you can't back up a truck onto a loading dock unless you have a 4-hour flagger class. You can't jump on a scissor lift unless you have a 4-hour scissor lift certification. So these are all things that we're doing here.
Yeah.
Between the Eat Fund and the local, all we do is teach.
How many other trades do you know of that have a dedicated safety guy?
I know the laborers do. They have their training facility down the street. The plumbers have their training facility down the street too. I'm not sure if they're dedicated. I know the local 40 iron workers have one.
Yeah.
580 has one. But I'm not sure if they go out into the field,
right?
If I'm not here on the street.
Listen, we're very fortunate. I don't know if our guys realize how fortunate they are to have a dedicated guy. Not only that's going to go out, go on the jobs, walk the jobs, but, when there is an accident, God forbid there is an accident, to have that, listen, agents run into the jobs, but to have, our safety guy going there and just making sure that guy's safe, right? Making sure he's not making some silly decisions that's going to hurt him down the road.
Yep.
Right. So it's very important. I cringe sometimes when I think about what happens even in our own trade around the country in these small locals where people are spread out by hundreds of miles. When somebody gets banged up on a job, there's nobody that's, like we have here, or we're going to have a posse of guys.
And you
Go and
see
help
the
them out.
safety alerts that come out, you know.
Sure.
It's amazing, the injuries across the country.
Yeah.
And here, I mean, it's all about getting out and talking to the guys, you know, preaching safety, come get trained, get retrained.
So the mentality of safety has changed over the years, right? So you can talk about, you know, the old timers that were working in the 70s. You know, I came in the late 80s. You guys a little bit after that, right? That mentality of, what are you going to wear that thing for? You're wearing a harness. What's the matter with you?
Yep.
That's changed, hasn't it?
100%. I mean, the last 20 years, it went from having a pair of gloves to maybe a certain helmet and a belt. You had it for 5, 8 years. Now you get hired by a company, you get a full safety bag. I mean, we just had our first safety stand down, and one of the things I was showing was a Gemtor belt from 1986, a body belt.
Yeah.
They were banned by OSHA in 1999.
Yeah.
So now these guys got nice belts, nice brand new hard hats rolling out, different selection of gloves, a glove for each task. So the guys are getting all their safety equipment.
Right.
Let's get them to use it is another thing.
It's awesome. So the safety stand down, I was there. It was a great day. Why don't you talk about a little bit about what prompted that safety stand down? It was the first one that we've ever had. It was a fantastic day. It was well attended. Like you said, employers, vendors, members. You know, take me just to where that thing started, how it came to fruition.
Sure. Well, the International does a safety stand down every day on April 28th. Then the following week is OSHA's fall prevention in construction. So I wanted to somehow, didn't want to do it on the International Day. I figured I'll do a week later for OSHA fall prevention and just get trades here. A lot of job sites do a safety stand down that week.
Right.
I wanted to try something different. I reached out to a whole bunch of vendors, emailed them. They said they would come. We had OSHA here. We had some guest speakers. It was great. Some really good vendors. And just getting the membership, you know, talking about safety. DOB was here, OSHA, a whole bunch of trades we deal with, their safety reps, and all the companies. Otis all had all their safety reps here. It was a great day, just touring our facility and showing off what we have here in Local 1. We do a lot here, and I'm big about showing it off, how good we are.
Man, why don't we take a look at some footage that I have of that safety stand down?
So welcome to Local 1, everybody. This has got to be one of the most exciting days in the local's history to be able to do this. Today was a monumental day here at Local 1 because we just held our first annual safety stand down.
So thank you for taking the time to be here today for safety. This stand down is part of a nationwide initiative led by OSHA and our International about the fall hazards and safety in construction. Please feel free to take a tour of our training facilities. We have our welding school and virtual welders downstairs. Upstairs, we have our training facility with all the classrooms set up. There's a lot of training that goes on here 5 days a week, from NEEP to all our SST training, our scaffolding training, and rigging.
We use this crane and the instructor will have the control and the student will give the hand signals. It gives an actual visual that we can use in a classroom in a small environment than you would be using actually on a job doing an unload.
So the safety stand down today, I was blown away. We had Regional Director of OSHA who spoke.
When I read every fatality the report comes across my desk, I always think who took the risk and who accrued the benefit from that risk. So that shortcut that you take, because it's quicker to do that, if it goes wrong, who pays the price for that?
One of our shop stewards on our largest job, 270 Park, Otis shop steward, he spoke.
In 2023, there were 1,075 construction deaths in the United States of America. That is an absolutely grotesque number. So how do we get from 1,075 to 0? Because it's the only acceptable number.
John Hook spoke, who's our safety director, Dennis Kilduff, who's a business agent here at Local 1.
And up here on this table was some stuff I got together just to talk about where safety has started and where it is now. Up front, I have hard hats from 1990 from Otis, a safety belt from 1986, a Gemtor. From the old up to the new, every company gives out some type of safety bag filled with safety equipment.
The hat, the belts that we got back then, there's some old guys in there. How many guys wore those safety belts? Nobody, because nobody wore those belts back then. But it's all about the guys in this room that are working day to day out there in the field, that they're buying into safety, that nobody used to buy into, and they understand that this is a dangerous job and we have to do what we got to do to get home to our families.
We also had an employer speak, Mike from TEI. He came up, he gave a great demonstration on fall hazards and hooking up.
This week it's OSHA's National Safety Stand-Down to prevent falls. So how can we shake it up? So the next time you have a toolbox talk, this is my challenge to you. I want you to gather everybody together and say, team, today's the day we're gonna fall. Because if you knew today's the day, my number's up, I'm gonna fall today. What are you gonna do? You're gonna make sure your anchor point can support 5,000 pounds. You're gonna make sure your lifelines are dropped and they're padded anywhere they touch an edge. You're gonna make sure you're the only person hooked up to your lifeline.
Also with Brendan Loftus and the mental health and the substance abuse issues that he deals with, it all ties into the safety culture here at Local 1.
We see what the safety culture has changed. We see how people have gone home and worked safer and been better and gotten home to their families. But when we talk about mental health, have we seen a change there? And I equate it to this. If you had a member who was hanging, dangling off a hat, we would run and do everything we could possibly do to save that member. But when we know our members are suffering in silence, are we running to that member? Are we doing the same thing because their lives are in the balance?
I thought it was a great day. It was a great educational day. It was a great day to have OSHA here. We had the Department of Buildings here. We had elevator inspectors from the Department of Buildings. We had general contractors. We had all different safety vendors here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's so important, and this is something that we've dreamed about, and here we are, and we're going to move forward, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on. We will not have a conversation with an elevator constructor throughout the entire IUEC without parting ways and saying, work safe, brother, work safe, sister. That's something that we do every single day. Thank you.
That was awesome, bro. That was such a great day. I'm telling you. You must have got, now walking those job sites after that safety stand down, like what kind of feedback did you get from, was there anybody that you went and saw on a job site that may have been there, that may have heard, how it went?
I reached out, the next day I reached out to all the vendors and I got positive emails back saying it was a great day.
Yeah.
It was great to see how a union is so involved with safety. And the guys that came, they loved it. It was something different. Especially the vendors, we all know the vendors we deal with, they were great with the members handing stuff out. And next year we'll make it bigger. We'll go a lot bigger, more vendors and more guest speakers. It's all about safety.
It is all about safety. And listen, I think the best part of the day were the guest speakers. Each person, I mean, yourself, Dennis and Danny and, some of the employers all had a different message.
Yep.
And all delivered it in their own way, and it all resonated, to everybody. You could see, I looked around the crowd as people were talking, and you could see heads nodding up and down, like, yeah, that's.
Listen, when we started, the guys just had hard hats and a body belt.
That's it, and you were ashamed, and you were ashamed to wear it.
Oh yeah, right? No one put it on. Starting when I left the tower in 1999, 2000, went into construction. All we had was a hard hat. The glove guy would come around the job once a week. You run out and buy gloves for the shanty and throw it on the table.
Yeah. So when you were at the trade center with it, was there ever any like really, really bad near misses?
No, not back then. 30 years on a lot of these sites, I've seen some near misses and on other trades, being part of the Freedom Tower.
Where that safety equipment saved them.
Yeah. Freedom Tower was a great job. I spent 4 years there. We had 1 or 2 bad injuries.
Yeah.
And helping out the other trades had some bad injuries too.
Listen, I think you'd agree with me. If you come to work in the morning, do everything you're supposed to do, you shouldn't even go home with a splinter. There should be nothing, right? Wear the gloves. We're in control.
Get up with a good attitude and go to work.
We're in complete control of our surroundings. If it doesn't feel right, we don't work with somebody working above us. Gloves, goggles, the shoes, everything.
The knee pads, and just looking out for one another. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you see something, stop the guy. Whether you're an apprentice or mechanic, it's your responsibility. And I don't like it. Let's do it a different way.
I remember one time having a conversation with a good friend of mine that was trying to get her kid into Local One. You know, we had a recruitment coming up, right? But his brother worked for the ironworkers. So I said to her, I said, why don't you try and get him into the ironworkers? You know what she said to me? Oh, I don't want him working in a dangerous trade. So I looked at him like, you might not want him working with us, but listen, all the trades bring their level of danger, right? I mean, we're dealing with, what are the top four? The OSHA 4. It's electrocution, it's struck by.
Pitch points is a big one right now.
And we could be dealing with all those at the same time.
People don't realize that, just take the Freedom Tower, the jumbo rails with the fish plate. They were about 540 pounds each, hoisting them up the rail with a Philly. Man, guys did that for almost 2 years in the shuttle car hatches. 2 years of hoisting rails. Rails that's one of the most dangerous parts is the rigging. Make sure guys have the rigging sirs, watching their hands, looking out for one another, communication. Yeah. You got to be on point. That's the most important thing. And looking out, be a brother to a brother. That's what we always preach.
So I got to imagine, I got to hope, and I got to imagine that, our guys have tightened it up, over the years, and that we're doing the right thing out there. That guys are, that's the most important thing, that they're out there, but probably cringed some of the things that you see, and you get on some of these Wild West job sites where it's, guys out there that don't have what we have here, or don't have the structure, or coming from the non-union sector, and there is no safety policy, and you see them swinging around like.
And I think the message that our executive board over the last 15, 20 years preaches safety. That's all Lenny talks about, safety.
That's all we talk about. It's all you guys as instructors, right? Talking to your students in the class.
All the NEEP instructors preach safety. Year 1 is all safety. Year 2, we get into the rails and brackets, but you're still preaching safety. Year 3, it's talk about electricity, we're still talking about safety. So every year you're always talking about safety, and that's the most important thing. These guys know what to get into, follow your company procedures, do your JHAs, do your rigging plans, know what you're picking up, communicating with your crew. These are all things, guys, hopefully they're doing, which I know they are.
I think they are.
Yeah.
They're doing the right thing.
Great. Listen, Local One's the best.
They are the best.
In my opinion, Local One's the best. Best union in the city.
Listen, all the trades are great, and I think everybody, if we had every trade here, they'd all say, "Hey, my trade's the best." And guess what? It is field, right? Somebody's got me on top.
That's right. That's going to be us.
Well, listen, John, you do a lot of things for our members as far as safety, as far as helping people out, getting people out of harm's way. You do that in your personal life too, right?
Yes. Live up in Rockland County with my wife, my 2 boys, Josh and Jacob. I've been a volunteer fireman for about 24 years with Hillcrest. I was a volunteer EMT in my town for about 10 years. I was a high-angle rescue team for a couple of years. I dove for my fire department for a couple of years. So I keep busy. I'm always on the run.
You do. And you just recently had some
Swift water training I did last weekend with the guys from my firehouse. I'll be going upstate to get that certification. My wife's not happy with me sometimes, I will say. No, I'm not home sometimes.
Listen, there could be there can be some worse things that you're doing with your spare time than out there saving people.
And also, shout out to all the volunteer firemen out there, EMTs who do it. People don't realize what they give up to answer calls at 2, 3 in the morning, leaving their family or leaving a dinner to go answer a call in your town.
We're fortunate to have the fire department here. Those phenomenal people, right? We're fortunate to have that. But there's many towns around the country
it's all
volunteer. People don't understand that.
The EMTs too, a lot of these towns are volunteer. Yeah. They get shifts and they're working 4, 6, 7 hours a shift. Then they come home and go to work. Many times I got home at 2, 3 in the morning from a fire call and just went right to work. But I love it. And
so what got you into doing that? Was your family involved in that, or?
No, I always wanted to be a city fireman. Besides an elevator guy, I was always a little fire buff. So when I moved up to Rockland County, right after 9/11, the first thing I did was join the firehouse. The kid who was signing my lease, Anthony Rocky, he was...
shout out to Anthony Rocky.
Shout out to Anthony. He was 19 years old, and he was a volunteer fireman, but he was working in the brand new building complex. He said, "Hey, I know you just moved up here. want to make some new friends, join the firehouse. The next day, he slid the application underneath my door. I joined Department 26, October of 2001. Was there for a couple of years, and I transferred over to Hillcrest, all my guys at Hillcrest. And that's where I've been 17 years. I mean, some of these volunteer departments are doing 1,200 runs a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Long Island's very big. They busy departments out in Long Island too.
Yeah. So how do those volunteer fire departments get funded? Like, what is it all just fundraising?
Through tax dollars, for
Yeah.
the volunteers. Everyone pays like a fire prevention tax, but a lot of these guys train on their own. Is it a lot of training involved now to be an officer or just to become a volunteer fireman? My son Josh joined when he was 16, and it's 125 hours of training just to become a level 1 firefighter. Wow. And it's hands-on. Then once you pass that, you want to move on to be a line officer or something down the road. There's tons of training.
Yeah.
People give up a lot. It's a lot of work, I will say.
So if you could possibly, I know you wouldn't give up your elevator career for nothing. I don't think any of us would here, but if you could turn back the hands of time, and if you had a choice of the New York Fire Department or coming into Local 1, you think that would have been a tough choice for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Listen, that's a phenomenal. My cousin's a fireman up in the Bronx, and they got that camaraderie too, and that very unique work schedule, and you're cooking together, and you become out.
And my wife says it the best. I get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I come home at night and I answer calls.
Yep.
Like
Been answering calls for a long time, whether it's on in an elevator hatch or
it's great. I enjoy it. I really do.
No, that's awesome. We need, people like you. Like, I lived in a small town for a little while, and it was volunteer firemen. And you're like, wow, these guys don't get paid to do that kind of work is amazing.
It is a big issue now with these firehouses getting volunteers. A lot of people, work 2-3 jobs. They can't give up the time. The young kids don't want to get as much involved.
Yeah.
So they're always out there, recruitment, having these recruitments, open house. Every local firehouse is always looking for new members.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing nothing, go out and, get involved with your town.
Get involved.
Become a volunteer fireman, EMT.
100%.
That was, that was very fun, riding the ambulance.
The other thing too, when somebody comes knocking on your door looking for a little donation
that's right.
You give them a little bit.
When you see the guy standing on the street, Sunday morning with the can in the town, give them a couple bucks.
Yep.
That's fundraising for them.
Sure is.
Keeps their firehouse going. They get to do a couple of trips to do something.
Sure is.
Buy some shirts. There's always something going on in the firehouse.
Man, we got a recruitment coming up here probably in the fall that we're going to open up a recruitment. We haven't had one going on 4 years. COVID kind of knocked things down a little bit. Yeah. But what's your message to some of these young kids that because I've been to so many outreach events, and when you talk to some of these kids and they're like, yeah, the industry sounds great, but it's dangerous. Like, how do you talk to that kid and explain to him? Yeah, it might be dangerous. Walking across the street is dangerous. Taking a bath is dangerous if you don't do the right thing.
You got to explain to them the benefits of union, of the pension, the annuity fund, the 401k. Get involved. Whether you're in construction or mod, there's so much going on. Whether any union, it's for your family. Healthcare. Number one thing right now is healthcare.
Man, but the danger part of it shouldn't scare them off.
No, absolutely.
It's one thing if you're, if you're afraid of heights or if you're petrified of being in a confined space. I get that, but I see a lot of young kids that their vision of this trade and other trades it's very like I'm taking my life in my hands by going into that trade. And it's not the case.
No, absolutely not.
Right?
And I think the generation we're in now, a lot of these kids want to be YouTubers. They want to get involved with something else. They don't want to get dirty. But it's a great trade. We talk as you get married, you have kids, you want good health care.
Yeah.
When you retire, you want a pension. You want a 401k. You want an annuity. This is what you want to look for.
Listen, we need us old timers need these young kids to
100%.
They got to pay our pension for a long time.
That's what my dad used to tell me when I got it. He goes, "You'll be paying my pension."
Absolutely. So
now I look at these kids and I'm like, these kids will be paying our pension.
They are going to be paying our pension. And listen, I hear some of these young guys in this business get criticized for, they're different than it was. Like,
Yes.
the world is different than it was years ago. But listen, I got to say, I think they're smarter. I put myself back when I was 20 years old, doing the stupid things. I think they're just different, right? They can do the job. There's plenty of great young guys that are in this
100%.
business that are doing work that took us a long time
Especially
to
the
figure out.
technology part.
Yeah, the
these
technology
kids
part.
are right on top of it.
Yeah.
They know how to get in and get on the computers where for us it took a while in 95, 96 when the computers all started coming out and
Yeah.
AOL came out and,
But it's our job to try and get them to where they're gonna take over, right?
Yeah.
And it's the doing the work, which is obviously very important, but
getting involved in the union. Is
getting involved, but working safe.
working safe and
Yeah.
keeping the union going. We need guys who are going to run the picnic.
Yeah.
The guys that'll run the Labor Day parades. We need future business agents. We need everyone to get involved. There's a spot
Spot for everybody.
for everyone. Just get involved. I
Yep.
can remember being in Whitestone, folding the envelopes
Yep.
for the picnic. Now, the last 13 years, I've been running the picnic.
Yeah.
So these kids just have to get involved. It's out there. You're gonna want it, like you say. You gotta.
So what's so I know you ran the picnic for a long time. What was the biggest challenge to running that picnic? Like, what was the biggest?
The biggest challenge, I think, is the weather. Is
We've seen the full gamut where it's
we've seen
100
monsoons,
rain.
98 degrees,
Yep.
where they had to turn the fire truck, hose everyone down, to torrential monsoons.
Yep.
Sue does a lot, mostly order and everything. The thing is, it's the weather.
Yeah.
No one's going to come if it's pouring rain out.
Right.
You go back to the 80s and 90s, we had, 23, 2,400 people. It was packed there.
It was packed.
I think last year we had about 1,100 people, which was it turned out to be a nice day.
I mean, but we used to do double that.
Double that.
Yeah.
The weather, to me, is the biggest thing. People are going to get up in the morning. If it's a beautiful day,
They're not coming.
let's go.
Right.
If it's raining, yeah. I'm not dropping.
Can't say I blame them.
Yeah, especially from out Long Island. It can take a while to get out there.
It
It's
does.
definitely a journey. Me, I live literally 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I'm there no matter what. But that is a great day. That's something that's been going on for almost 45 years, close to 50 years at Cruckers,
Yeah.
the local one picnic. From the prizes we used to do, the cars, the boats, Super Bowl tickets. I mean, it was crazy back
The
in
whole
day.
concept behind it's pretty much gone unchanged all these years too. It is Groundhog Day. It is the same, right? It's the same thing, but it works. It's
It
a great
works.
day for the kids.
Kids love it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games going on for the kids. The prizes, there's still money prizes. We're not getting, the bikes or the Harleys anymore, but we're still getting good prizes.
No, we're doing great.
Yeah, it's a great day. This year, the picnic is always the second Saturday in August. For the last 50 years, I think we changed it once.
Change it once, right?
Once. And,
Why was that?
from what I remember, I think it was to switch with the iron workers.
Okay.
And we did switch it. It wound up raining on our day.
How many other trades do their picnic up there? So that's up in Cruckers.
Cruckers up in
In
Pomona,
Pomona.
New York.
Yeah.
I'm going to say about 10 trades.
Really?
I know 580 does it, the carpenters, the plumbers, the painters. There's definitely a couple more. Both my boys work there.
Do they?
Because, Jacob works there this summer. Josh worked there for 2 years in a row.
Nice.
So it's good for them.
Yeah.
It's the same owner. The dad passed away, gave it to the son. So now
Yeah, he's a
son
good
runs
guy.
it. Kurt
Yeah.
loves that place.
Yeah, he does.
It's a great day. So make sure this year everyone comes out. Enjoy the day with your family and your local one brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
It's family.
When we can get a third to half the membership going and congregate and having a good time, meeting people, having a couple of beers and playing these games. I know the ring toss, the egg toss is everybody plays for second place.
I know.
But that's
either you or
okay.
Connie, I know, winning it. I know.
Well, he's got big pillow hands, and I got
It was always a great day, too, for guys before the internet and cell phones.
Oh,
You
yeah.
would see your buddy once a year
Right.
at the picnic.
right.
That's a good thing that guys come out. I haven't seen Joe in 2 years,
Yeah.
So it's good for old timers come, retirees come. It's great to see retirees. It's a great day.
Yeah.
I'm looking to keep that tradition going, too.
Yeah, we're going to keep going. But listen, getting back to safety, what do you got in your mind as far as moving forward? I know we got the safety grant with the hand safety, but what do you got percolating ahead of yours as far as, just, we here at Local One, we just want to keep moving forward, right? Be proactive and coming up with new things.
Well, besides the SST training, which was ongoing, the scissor lift was something we started about 2 years ago. The flagman was a course I started about a year and a half ago. Now just keep retraining.
Yeah.
I'm looking to maybe make some safety pods in the back room for the lockout, tag out, try something different.
Yeah.
We got scaffolding we can build. I got scaffolding in the back we can build. Major scaffolding we can build. Whatever the members are looking for, I'm up for everything. It's I enjoy making the PowerPoints and just preaching to these guys, teaching them. It's we can do anything we want when it comes to safety. And
Listen, we're very fortunate here to have that second education fund. Like, I don't know of any other local that has two. Like, most of them all have their education fund that handles the training for the apprentices and, continuing ed. We have, NEEP, which is a phenomenal organization, but we're fortunate and we're able to have that second education fund that really allows us, when we see a need, we can just, stand up and say, hey man, we're gonna run this class. And that's like, with the hand safety, that whole hand safety thing, and talking to somebody about another grant that we were able to get, our computer skills grant, and talking to that person and saying, hey, what other money do you got? And they're like, well, there's safety. And then, I came to you and we put our heads together and came up with, the hand safety. And look, 6 months later, we got 25 grand in a grant to be able to train our members. And it's only going to grow.
Yeah. And besides we got all the OSHA classes always going on. OSHA, construction, general industry. That's two of the classes we're always doing. And I think moving forward, there'll be the way DOB with safety is going. You need cert for everything.
You do.
And I'm looking. My main goal is our members have to only come here to get certified. They don't have to go anywhere else.
They don't have to go anywhere.
Other trades, they go on Click Safety, maybe they renew their SST. We're all in-house. Come here. You don't have to pay. I know certain trades, they tell the members renew it online.
Right.
They don't have what we have.
Listen, they can go spend the money. They can go renew it online, and they got the cert, right?
Yep.
There's a big difference to having that kid come in this building, and now he's meeting other guys and an instructor, right? And he's forming relationships with people, right? Anybody can go online and take a class, but to be able to come in here, and then you connect with somebody, or hey, that kid was on my job or whatever, and now you become great friends.
That's the good thing about first year of school.
Yeah.
Those kids you meet in your first year are kids that we always say, you're going to go through school with these kids for the next 5 years. Become friends.
And you're going to tell stories about it 20 years later. Do you remember that dope teacher we had with they made him a safety guy? You remember that? What was his name? Hookster?
I always tell a story. When I was at the Trade Center, 1998, I met this kid, Phil Ducatelli. I was in repair. He was in mod. The repair and mod teams really didn't mingle with each other.
Yeah.
As Phil tells the story, the mod were like the upper class, and the repair, we were like the little dirt bags running around. So through the years, we kind of separated. 2010, we both get on the board at the same time. And we kind of knew each other.
Yeah.
And from then, we hit it off again.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows Phil's my work wife.
And Phil's your work wife. Yeah.
But we got on the board together. We taught together. And that's a friendship we started back in 1998.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this union.
There is a lot of that.
Guys work with each other 30, 40 years.
There is.
In wedding parties, to go to weddings. That
Godfathers of kids.
I see
best
kids,
friends.
My first group of students I taught, one of them ran into my son. He's like, I remember your dad used to tell stories about you with PlayStation when your dad broke the PlayStation on you. So these kids, they just grow up.
Yeah.
They grow up with us. And, 15 years from now, one of those students could be running this union.
Sure could.
And that's what we preach. Get involved.
Yeah.
Most important thing, get involved, protect your work, and be part of the union.
Yeah.
Come to your union meetings. All right, come to 1 or 2 a year. Come to a picnic. Bring your family. Come to a Labor Day parade. Bring your family.
Man. That's how it keeps going.
Yeah, I remember going to a Labor Day parade with my dad back in the day. Coming, just sit at the union meeting waiting for him. It used to be aviation, or we used to go all over for the union meetings.
Listen, that Labor Day parade, when can you walk like unencumbered down Fifth Avenue probably the most expensive real estate in the world.
Yep.
Go in front of St. Pat's, going in front of Trump Tower, like all these iconic buildings up to Central Park.
And
Right.
all the dads telling the kids, I built that building.
I built
I
that
did
building."
that building. I
Yep.
did the elevators there in 1995.
Right? It's a great day.
Yeah,
So,
it is a great day. It really
And
is.
listen, it sends a message to, just everybody, right? You see all these people that are cheering us on the right side for labor to get together and really, we have, I don't know what, 500 people that come
Yep.
out. We should have 1,000. We should have
Everyone should come.
1,500 people come out. Could you imagine if that thing, the message that would send, if that line wrapped around blocks?
That would be
and
great.
It's awesome. And it's awesome as it is. It's a great day.
Listen, I'm hoping my youngest son Jacob gets into the union.
Yeah.
He go to college, and I said, listen, come into the union, third generation, keep it going. It'd be great.
Listen, that's probably right now is plan B, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, then guess what?
They don't have a plan yet.
Well, whatever, but it might be his plan B, right?
Yeah.
But his plan B is better than most plan A,
Oh yeah.
right? So to have that, think about it. It's the same thing with my son, right? He was plan B. He went to school. We sent out to Penn State and, did something else and it kind of, decided something else. And this became what he's doing. And he's doing phenomenally well. But that was plan B. And his plan B is better than most people's plan A. And that's a great place as a father,
Oh, yeah.
to see that your kids are settled and are doing well.
My other son Josh, who was at Penn State, he just finished up his freshman year. He's doing his internship, with an elevator company, and he likes it.
Yeah.
I said, on the business end, you could do this.
Sure you can.
And Jacob's like that. I'll just come into the field. That's fine.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's perfect.
So
It'll be
listen-
great. Listen, it's a great union. I preach. I tell all the kids, the young kids in my firehouse, go take all the tests, do all the recruitments.
Yeah.
Take the city tests, take the fire department test, finding a solid union. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Listen, it's our job. It's our job. It's everybody's job, though. But it's our job to bring this whole thing back,
yeah,
right, to where it was,
100%.
to where it was, and that's what we're gonna do.
I love this union, and it's I know my dad preached it.
Yeah.
My brother, my uncle, my cousins. This is all I know, and I love it.
Yeah.
Nowhere else I'd rather be than in Local 1.
Yep. It's a great. When you wake up and you enjoy going to work, you got
100%.
the world lit.
I've been on some big jobs throughout the last 25 years, and every day I enjoyed sitting in the shanty, 50, 60 guys,
Yeah.
telling stories, making fun of one another.
Yep.
Doing some stupid crap, but it was always fun. Always looking out for one another.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, and having fun. Working safe and having fun.
Man. So listen, we'll wrap
Busting a
this.
lot of chops.
Yeah. So listen, we'll wrap this up, but give our listeners like one safety message, like just that, if you could just be able to talk to each and every person, like what's that one most important message to everybody that's working out there in
I
the
think
trades?
the most important message, not only for our trade, for all the trades, is the beginning of the day, start off with a positive message. Talk to your crew, know your task, know what you're getting involved with. Follow your company procedures, have the certifications, just work safe.
Yeah.
That's the biggest message we tell everyone. You got to work safe.
Gotta be focused
You
too.
got to be focused. You got to come in with a clear mind.
Yep.
Know what you put in your hands. Know what you're rigging. Know the capacity. These are the things, guys don't know. You have minor accidents.
Yeah, little things too, like, listen, if there's something going on at home and it's weighing on your mind, you gotta check that at the door, man.
You
You
might have
gotta
to stay home that day.
you gotta have a clear, mind on that job site. You can't be
100%.
distracted. Keep the phone in the pocket, right? Just
We're
focus on the task at hand.
Very dangerous trade. And like I
Right.
said, you got to have a clear head every day walking in. It's a great trade.
But it can be just as dangerous walking across the street.
Street.
Close your eyes and walk
Getting
across the
hit by
street.
one of these mopeds,
Right.
electric bikes. It's a great trade.
Yeah. Well, John, listen, I appreciate what you're doing for this trade. Like,
Thank
you
you.
are just one of the most well-respected people.
Thank you.
I have yet to walk in. Well, maybe one. No, I've yet to walk into anybody that doesn't just say, "Man, John's the greatest." And to see what you're doing for us is just it's so sorely needed. I'm so happy to be collaborating with you
Thank you.
on this project, and I think it's the first of many.
Yes.
Right? We're gonna start this, and then we're gonna get right into what's next. I have a whole list of different places that we can go apply, and we're gonna do it. But I know this local is in a better place because A, you're here, and B, what you're doing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And this was great. Thank you for having me as your guest. And I'm looking forward to working with everyone in the future.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Work safe, look out for one another, be a brother to a brother. That's the most important thing.
You got it.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, pal. Have a great day.